Oh man, you can tell I'm really moving up in the world as a content creator. I got Audacity going in the background. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another installment of The Bronze Show New Year's Special. And by special, I mean obligation. For those uninitiated, this is a yearly routine that I do on the channel where I look back at both the promises and the content that I made in the last year and talk a little bit about the plans that I have for the upcoming year. And this, as you could probably tell, is our 2026 installment. That's right, I've finally caved and have just retitled all of these to the year that they're turning over to. It's kind of confusing. It could go either way. Both of them are like valid readings of how to title a New Year's special if you want to put the year in it, but I think you can get the gist of what I'm talking about either way, but I just had an epiphany one day and it makes more sense to me now that way. But in general, yeah, I think 2025 was a pretty good year for the channel. Maybe not in terms of the amount of videos uploaded, but certainly how I feel about them, which is always important. My feelings are more important than yours. I think that out of the small sample size of videos that I uploaded in 2025, I like all of them. Usually there's always at least one video where I'm like, man, I really could have done that one better, but no, I think that the fact that I barely uploaded anything means that I really enjoy, at least in terms of quality, the videos that I did put out. But we're not there yet. We're jumping the gun. We first have to talk about all the promises that I made in last year's New Year's video. This is what we call transparency. I'm talking about all the things that I said that I would do, but didn't. Firstly, the big one is that I said all of the hurdles that were in the way of me making new content regularly were in the past, and we can start full, usual production of Bronze Show videos moving forward in 2025. No, I mean, for starters, I have a life outside of the computer, so it's kind of an inevitability that that will eat up a bit of my time. But also, I'd like to think that the personal problems that I had, that I talked about in that video, are lesser, but are still there, you know? Unless RFK Jr. can say he found some berry in the forest that cures autism, I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon. But in terms of hurdles that are just me having to do or have something in order to make the videos, those are all out of the way. In fact, some of them tie into the videos that I did upload in the year. And the second thing I'll go over, this wasn't really a concrete promise, but it is something that I threatened you guys with, that I was going to make more Smash Mouth related content. I promise you, Smash Mouth is still a bit on the channel. I have a master document of all of the Smash Mouth factoids that I could make videos on. It's just that, as a consequence of the first promise not coming to fruition, I wasn't really able to make those videos. I will eventually make more of those, most likely when you're lulled into a false sense of security. And the third thing that I talked about a lot in the last year's New Year's video was that I was going to try and make more normal-sized videos. Like, you know, I'm really proud of the hour to 2 hour long videos on sprawling narratives, but sometimes it is good to just go back to basics and make a nice, clean 20-minute video on a story that is equally as interesting. And I can say that that one did come to fruition with the videos I uploaded in 2025. I mean, mostly because I thought of those videos initially as filler in between the larger projects, but then they spiraled into bigger things of their own, but let's not talk about that part. And speaking of which, I know you're all anxiously waiting for the next Bronze Show video, so right here exclusively on the Bronze Show channel, here is a sneak peek at the next Bronze Show video. Penis. You can get excited for that and more when I finish that. So yeah, in terms of promises, 1 out of 3 isn't bad. I mean, that wouldn't get me kicked out of my baseball turn. But with all that aside, let's finally go over all the videos that I uploaded in 2025. And by all, I mean 3. Like, I've stopped caring about the amount of videos that I uploaded in the year, really. It's just funny that somewhere on the channel it says I upload monthly. So the first video that I uploaded in 2025 was actually, in terms of production, a holdover from last year. That was the one that I was kind of hinting at when I said I needed to have something in order to finish a project. I meant that both in terms of I needed to buy something for research purposes, which I don't do too often, but I would like to do more often. And also, more simply, my computer doesn't have a CD drive, so I needed to get an external one. But after all that was out of the way, I was finally able to complete and upload the Disturbed Monkey Noise Rumor video. This video is the start of me keeping my promise in terms of making smaller but still substantial videos. I think just generally it's a lot easier to make sure that every part of a 20-minute-ish video is perfect because, believe it or not, there are less details to worry about in a 20-minute video than if it were, say, 2 hours. This video also marks me continuing to unlearn a habit that I had where I think that every video needs to have some sprawling narrative in order to be good. Like, you may have noticed that a few of my previous videos are less of a story that I want to fully document and more of a showcase of the oddities that I find while looking into something that interests me. This current wave, I think, started with the Kanye contest video, but arguably you could go back as far as the SpongeBob Darts thing. And I'm not gonna say that those videos are more fun to make than the solely narrative-driven ones, but they're still fun. They're just like a separate kind of fun. The thing that you'll notice about me from watching my videos is that I'm like a little scavenger bird finding a shiny rock on the ground. I like finding information and giving it to you. And those kinds of videos are like the purest form of that. And I guess I should also elaborate on the thing I said where I had to buy something for research purposes. Let's see if I can find it somewhere. I know it's somewhere. I don't know. I'm just gonna assume it's gone forever. Oh wait, is it down in this pile? As you saw in the video, I had to buy that collector's edition of Asylum by Disturbed in order to watch the documentary for myself. I mean, not had to in order to. Conveniently, after I bought it, it became freely available for like $10. But me doing this has sort of opened the floodgates of me widening my scope of the things that I think I'm allowed to do for research. And if I want to take being a professional Googler seriously, then these are things that I'm gonna have to do in the future. And in fact, the upcoming video that very epic clip teased you with does follow in the footsteps of that. So then, once the Disturbed video was out, after a few months, I would then upload my video on Music Is My Hot Hot Sex. Fun fact about the premise of this video, I'm not sure if I've actually said this publicly anywhere, but it was initially supposed to be a smaller segment in a larger video about the wider history of the most viewed YouTube video label. Surprisingly, at the time when I initially had the idea, I didn't see any big video essays about the full history of the label, and something you'll find with me is that the fact that a video doesn't exist on it yet is usually a big motivator for me to make the video. It is a genuinely good piece of advice for content creators that I hear on occasion, that you should make the videos that you would want to watch. So if there's something you're interested in that there's not a video essay about there yet, then just make it, stupid. But as you could imagine, there were a handful of problems that went into making that full video. For one, much like the Billboard Bottom 100 video, I was really tempted to just make full video length segments on all of the topics that I had to talk about, but of course I couldn't do that or else the video would be 5 days long, so I had to narrow the amount I was allowing myself to talk about with each topic, and while that is good for efficiency's sake, it kind of messes with the way that I want to tell these stories. But also the larger issue that sort of stopped me from doing it is that I felt like I was forcing myself to come to some larger sweeping conclusion about the history of YouTube. And the thing is, it's very easy to make a doom and gloom conclusion out of looking through every video that was the most viewed on YouTube, because the quality of them dropped down significantly in the later years. Or more accurately, those videos don't embody the independent, creative spirit of YouTube that for some reason people thought that YouTube had after 2013. And frankly, the conclusion that the video is coming to doesn't really align with my thoughts on the topic, so I decided to just scrap it and find whatever piece I could to make a video about. And just a third smaller issue with the conceit of the video is that not all of the stories in it were that interesting when put next to each other on a timeline like that. But the Music Is My Hot Hot Sex segment was the most interesting part of it to me, so that's why I plucked that out and made it its own video by diving into it a bit deeper. Besides all of that, there's not much behind the scenes that I could talk about with the video. I just think it turned out really well. The video that I would compare this one the most to is my last Goodnight video, where it's just the story of a thing that happened that didn't have any central documentation until now. There isn't really much I could say about it besides I think that the effort that I put into compiling all the parts of the story that I found was good. I think it tells a neat story. There is a chance that I might also circle back to other most viewed YouTube video topics for a video eventually. I can think of a few that I maybe would want to delve deeper into eventually, but right now there's just no interest. So after that video, there is a decent excuse for why I didn't get a lot of work done for a while on the next video, and that was because I went on a plane. That's right, if you see me on social media at all, then you probably know this already, but in June of last year, I took a plane up to New York to hang out with some buddies of mine in real life, outside of the computer. If you know me well, then you know that I've been trapped in this room for about 10 years. They slide food under the door. I don't know how the lock works. So getting out of my comfort zone to hang out with people that I really enjoy being around, that's a big accomplishment for me. And obviously it took up a bit of my time. I had lots of good fun that, of course, as soon as I'm filming this video, I can't remember. So if you want a better breakdown of all the stuff that we did during that trip, then I recommend a video by my friend who was also there, Daniel T Gaming. His video should be right up there, so you can watch it if you want. But after I finally got back from that trip, I made sure to kick myself into high gear and continue to not make videos while I live my normal life. But after a few months, I would eventually release my review on Freedom Child by The Script. I believe this is the first album review that I've done since the In the Airplane Over the Sea video, which I barely think even counts, honestly. It was more of just a Scott the Woz style pastiche disguised as an album review because that was the bit. I don't even know if I would agree with the stuff that I said about that album anymore. I haven't actually rewatched that in a long while. I mean, I probably still don't like it, but like, calm down, man. Although I guess the initial conceit for this video was kind of inspired from a similar place as the In the Airplane Over the Sea one. By that I mean, if you can tell from my complexion, I am a big fan of Todd in the Shadows, the music YouTuber. Specifically his album review series Train Records, where he goes over the releases that allegedly killed the careers of whatever artist created them. I do really enjoy that series, but I felt like, much like a lot of music discussion, there were some blind spots in the middle that I feel like he would never get to. Either because the album itself wasn't a spectacular failure, or it was, but the artist itself isn't actually that culturally significant. So I felt if I was going to be Thanos in this situation, I might as well just do it myself. And I think the fact that I talked about Freedom Child is a perfect introduction to this idea. I've been thinking about this for a while, and you may have noticed this as a trend of the topics I talk about, but I don't know why I'm so fascinated with mid-2000s pop rock. Like, the amount of times that I've brought up The Script or The Fray in videos, it's not a lot, but it is a concerning amount. The best conclusion that I could come to is that it's a funny juxtaposition to how big these songs were versus how mid and usually bad these artists were. I don't know, I'm not a therapist. So the video was half inspired by me trying to find those blind spots, and half just I found Freedom Child in the wild and was fascinated by how bad it was. So with those inspirations combined, you should be glad to know that I have been compiling a list of other similar albums that I could also talk about in future videos. I'm not going to be pumping those out one by one, they'll happen when they happen, but trust me, all of the stuff on that list is gold. And I guess with that said, if you guys have any suggestions for albums that I should add to that list, be sure to let me know. My only sticking point is that you can't suggest the albums that everyone suggests. You know, I'm not going to talk about Chinese Democracy by Guns N' Roses or Results May Vary by Limp Bizkit, because everyone that talks about the worst albums of all time talks about those. You guys really need to dig deep to find the real gems. But with all that being said, those were all the videos that I had uploaded in 2025. Like I said, in terms of content, I think that this year turned out pretty well. I mean, obviously I would have wanted to upload more, but like, what are you gonna do? I don't have many concrete things I'm going to say about what I want to do in 2026, but I will say that, like, I know what I said last year, but like, come on. I have a pretty good plan of the videos that I want to put out in 2026, especially early into the year, so you can stay tuned for all those because the process of making them is going very smoothly. This might just be the New Year's talking, but I'm feeling pretty motivated about making content for you guys, so be sure to stay tuned. But yeah, much like in last year's New Year's video, there isn't really much to discuss because I only uploaded like 3 things. But you know, I had fun making all of those, and I'm having fun making all the new stuff too, so I'm glad you guys can stick around for another year of me having fun. But with all that being said, that was my look back at 2025 for the Bron Show YouTube channel. I hope you enjoyed me rambling about myself for like 20 minutes. Be sure to like this video if you liked the video, and be sure to subscribe if you subscribed to the video as well. And I'll see you all in the next thing